So very good afternoon, everyone. So let me take a quick attendance. Meanwhile, the other things will get open.
Good afternoon,
Good
sir.
afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Fine. So Astha Khandelwal, Abhigyan Gupta, Aditya, Ankit, Arpan Mishra, Ayush Bothra, Ishpreet Singh, Janvi, Jamima, Karan Agarwal, Kaushal Agarwal, Meghna Dhuria, Navya Singh, Sambhav Garg, Samriddhi Tripathi, Sania Kamar, Sarvan Sinha, Saurabh Yadav, Shara Khan, Shreya Dharan and Vanshika Sunil. So these are at presently in the class. So let us just proceed further with the presentation which we have to finish by today. So let me just show you what we have done till date, and accordingly we'll proceed further with the things. Okay. So here is your handout of corporate laws. Fine. So see, we have done with all these things which I'm highlighting. Shreya, please make a note of it, okay?
Yes, sir.
So this thing we have already done. 2 tests were proposed, and this prospectus part is remaining. So I will try to finish off the prospectus part by today, and still we are lagging behind because we have taken more classes in order to cover the less course. But let me tell you, the course in future, which is having one class, will be in that period we will be able to finish it off. So this winding up actually will take only 2 classes. Okay, so maybe in 1 class itself I may wind up. So 3 classes are assigned over here for that. So we'll actually do it accordingly. Company secretary also can be done in 1 class, so it is 1 class only. Company management, prevention of operation and mismanagement is. See, one more thing which I want to tell you. Yesterday I was going through, because these classes are not sufficient for you to study your entire company law, right? And that too in depth. So sometimes I feel that I be doing justice or not, or what. But the thing is that whatever I'm telling you, these are the most essential parts of it. So introductory part only you will be able to understand in this class, because for completion of the company law course, it took me 1.5 years of regular class daily. Then only I was able to understand that when I was doing my company secretaryship. So that cannot be expected during this period. So whatever is important and whatever is good, in order to cover each and everything, I'm taking everything, every whatsoever nook and crook I can take. I will just take it up, and will try to justify this in all the ways I can. I hope I am able to justify the course in a better way. So please tell me if you are having any problem, or you want something else for me to incorporate or do the things. So please tell me. Or otherwise, if you want, I can proceed in the same way I am proceeding, because I'm giving you every example of each and everything, and we are discussing the provisions, the main provisions also in detail. So if you have anything, you can either write it to me, or you can post it on the Teams itself, or whatever. Fine. So this is all from my side. So if you want me to elaborate something, you can tell me. Okay. We have already covered about your members and membership. We have already done. So I'm trying to find out. The prospectus part, because today we will be doing that prospectus part itself. Here it is. So prospectus is a very important when we are studying this company law, because this actually binds the company people with that of the you can say um, the public, because you are dealing with public in that case. Okay, so prospectus is equally important. So let me take you further for the prospectus. So anyone, what is a prospectus? Anyone? You are studying in Manipal University, Jaipur. You might be offered some prospectus before you have taken the admission. Am I correct or not? So can anyone tell me what is a prospectus? Any one of you? Jamima, what is a prospectus?
So a document that describes the activities and whatever they have done in the past year or the years they have been before.
Okay, so a prospectus of an institution will tell you what institution is all about. Okay,
Yeah.
what is the background, who are behind the institutions, what is the group all about under which this particular institution is working, and it is, and these are the things which are being offered in the in this document, that what courses are being offered. So accordingly you can choose the course which you want to take up further. So in the same way the prospectus is in the companies also. So in companies also, the prospectus actually tells you that what the company is offering, what at what price the shares and what type of the share the company is offering. Besides, it comprises of each and everything regarding the company, which an investor must understand, and investors are expected to know and understand about the company before making a decision of putting the money in the company itself. Because here you are putting in the institution, you are putting your whole life, your golden 3 years of this graduation. So you must understand what is the institution all about, what facilities you will be getting, what type of education you will be getting, what's the quality of education, how it is pursued, what is the fee, and all this. In the same way, all the things which, because here you are putting your life, so these prospectus are more important rather than the prospectus of company. We are putting only your money, but the money is a hard earned money. It should be put in a way that is fruitful for the person who is putting it, and with the expectation that he will gain return out of it. It is not expected that he will make loss. Okay, so it is expected that he will gain the return from the company, and with that expectation, a shareholder or a prospective investor puts his money in the company. So anything, even if you do a misstatement in the prospectus, there are severe criminal and civil liabilities which a company and the key managerial person has to bear. Okay, so let me take you through what the prospectus is and how we will proceed further it. So meaning and definition of prospectus. So it is given under section 270 of the Companies Act 2013, which defines prospectus as any document described or issued as a prospectus. So there may not be anything which is where it is written that it is prospectus, but anything which is working as a prospectus will be treated as a prospectus as such. So it includes any notice, any circular, advertisement, or other documents inviting the offers from the public for the subscription or for the purchase of any securities of a or a body corporate. So it is a notice, circular, advertisement, or anything which is actually inviting the offers from the public for subscription or purchase of securities or the shares in the body corporate. Now it includes the red herring prospectus, okay, referred to in section 32, and self prospectus. Okay, so section 31 and 32 along read with section 270 of this act will make the real sense of what a prospectus is. So it includes a red herring prospectus and the shell prospectus. We will be studying about RHP and shell prospectus in the further slides. So on the basis of the aforesaid definition, it may be said that a document should have the following ingredients to constitute a prospectus? First, the first most thing, there must be a invitation to the public, and such invitation is made by on the behalf of the company or in relation to an intended company. If you want to, or if your intention is to just form a company, then such intended or the future company also on behalf of that this invitation is to be made. So invitation must be to subscribe or purchase, and invitation must be related to any security. So each and every word in every line has a clear meaning out of it. Okay, so further it must be an invitation by or on behalf of the company or intended company to subscribe or purchase the shares or the securities of that company. Okay, so this is what the prospectus. It is an invitation to a public to invest in the company. So you are actually asking the public to give you money. Okay, so it is now totally dependent on the person who is taking the money of the public money, that he must disclose all the things in a clear way, and he must fulfill all the expectation of the public who is actually investing in the money in the company as such. So chapter 3 of chapter 3, that is from section 23 to 42, actually tells you about what a prospectus is and how the prospectus is dealt in, or you can say these are the things. So part 1 deals with the public offer and part 2 deals with the private placement. So even if you are inviting shares in a closed loop, then also you have to file or you have to comply with the provisions of the Act. So according to section 223(1), a public company may issue the securities. Now this is regarding a public company to the public through prospectus. Okay, this is called a public offer by complying with the provisions of this part, that is part 1, or through private placement by complying with the provisions of part 2 of this chapter. Through a right issue, although these are the two things on which you are inviting the shares, or through right issue or bonus issue in accordance with the provisions of this act. And in case of a listed company or a company which is intends to get its securities listed, also with the provisions of the Security Exchange Code of India, that is SEBI Act. So if you are a company which is a public company and you are a widely held company, or you want to, or you are going wide, or you can say you are inviting public, then you have to take permission from Security Exchange Board of India also, and you have to comply with the rules and regulation of the SEBI Act along with the Companies Act, because your intention is to list the securities and your intention is to involve the public in it. So accordingly, you have to take the permission and you have to comply with the rules and regulations. Section 23(2) lays down that a private company may issue the securities by way of right issue or bonus issue in accordance with the provisions of the Act, or through private placement complying with the provisions of part 2 of this chapter. It means that a private company there is a restriction on issue of securities to the private company, and this was one of the question also which I asked you in your quiz. Next is an invitation to the public. So in essence, it means that a prospectus is an invitation issued to the public to offer for the purchase and subscribe any securities of the company. A document is deemed to be issued to the public if the invitation to subscribe for the share capital is such as to be open to anyone who brings his money and applies in the prescribed form, whether the prospectus was addressed to him or not. So it is a public offer. It is completely a public offer. Anyone who is having money can apply to the company, whether any invitation has been made to him or not, because it is a public one. So however, the issue will not be public if when the issue is not public. Now two conditions are there. First is it is directed to a specified persons or a group of persons. Secondly, it is not calculated to result in the securities becoming available to the other person. So if it is in the closed group, either the group is closed or the securities are also closed, which is not available to the other person to subscribe for, then also it will be called as a invitation. It will not be called as a public one. Okay. Next is that there are certain cases. So in the case of South of England Natural Gas and Petroleum Company Limited, it was held that public is a general word and includes any section of public. So if a document inviting persons to buy the shares is issued, for example, to all the advocates or to all the doctors, to all the foreigners living in India, or to all the Indian citizens, or to all the shareholders in a particular company, it will still be deemed to be issued to the public, because if you are considering only a part of the public, still it is a public. You are still in you are issuing it to the public. So in aforesaid case, 3,000 copies of the document in the form of prospectus were sent out and distributed among the members of certain gas companies only. Okay, so it was held that the documents were sent and distributed was the prospectus issued to the public. So public includes any part of public as such. So what is the thumb rule? Thumb rule is that if you are approaching your own nears and dears only, then it will be called as a closed group. But if the person who is investing in the company is not at all known to you, or not at all known to the known of yours, then it will be considered as a public issue, or it will be considered as if it has been issued to the public as such. So there was one case of Parmarthnath Sanyal versus Kali Kumar Dutt. In this case, an advertisement given in the newspaper for inviting applications to purchase the remaining shares. Now here, the remaining shares are to be purchased. Okay, was termed to be a proper invitation to the public. May it be remaining shares, but it is an invitation to the public as per the Companies Act. And while deciding the case, the court held penalized the directors of the company for not complying with the mandatory process of filing a copy of advertisement with the ROC. So in such a case, such advertisement, in even a small advertisement which actually tells or just for the remaining shares, will also mean to be a prospectus. So even an ad in the newspaper will also be treated as a prospectus only. Okay, so this is something which is very important and notable. So advertisement of prospectus further. So section 30 provides that where an advertisement of any prospectus of a company is published in any manner, it shall be necessary to specify therein the contents of its memorandum with regard to objects, liability of members, amount of share capital of the company, so name of the signatories to the memorandum, capital structure. So even if you are giving the ad, so these all must be there in the advertisement itself. So these 5 points must be covered in the advertisement. Otherwise, it will mean to the infringement. So these all things are related, or these all things are necessary for anyone who is investing in the company to know and understand the nature of the company itself. Next is your private placement. So as per section 2 of section 42(2), private placement means any offer of securities or invitation to subscribe securities to select group of persons by a company other than by way of a public offer through issue of a private placement offer letter. So this is something which is called private placement offer letter. Okay, so any offer, if it is given, or if some invitation to subscribe the security is given to selected group of persons only, or other than by way of a public offer, means we have already discussed what is public offer, and beyond it, if it is done, then it will be considered as a, you can say, a private placement, or a private placement is made, and it is treated under section 42 of the act as such. Okay, next is the private placement of the offer letter. The private placement is made through the private placement offer letter. It is prepared under the form PAS4. So PAS4 form is there for the private placement. So private placement offer letter be sent to those persons whose name are recorded by the company prior to the invitation to subscribe. So you already have. So again, this is one more thumb rule. You already know the person whom you are sending. So if you have already made a list of the persons to whom you will be sending this private placement, then also it will be treated as a private placement. It will not be treated as a public. So there is a problem if it is made public. Okay, so private placement offer is made in a personal name of every individual. It has to be on, and only he can subscribe to the shares to whom the offer is made, no one else. So in public offer, what happens, anyone's and everyone whosoever is there can subscribe to the public offer. Okay, but not in this case. So it shall be accompanied with the application from form containing a serial number also is there. Okay, so such and such serial number issued to such and such person, and he has to apply only in the form serialed number. Okay, so he cannot just photo state it and do it the things in that way. It cannot be like that. So company shall file the records of private placement offer to the ROC within 30 days from the circulation of the letter. It is maintained in form PAS 5. Okay, so its securities are offered through the private placement offer by a public company. Such record shall be filed with the SEBI. So there are certain conditions of the private placement. So first most condition is that it should not exceed 200. Okay, and it will exclude QIBs and employee under ESOS scheme. ESOS scheme implies stock option scheme is there, where the employees are offered the stocks of the company and as you can say as a remuneration or something, some promotion. Okay, so and QIBs are qualified institutional bankers. So qualified institutional bankers also can apply. So these two things are actually excluded with this, and the remaining 200 people can be offered. So in case more than 200 separate for each kind of security is offered, irrespective of any receipt of the payment, that shall be treated as a public offer. So if you exceed 200, then it will be treated as a public offer. And but this thing is not applicable to NBFC or housing finance company if they are complying with the certain rules and regulations. This is generally for the normal companies. Next is a payment and deposit of money. All the money is payable. Subscribing the securities offered under the private placement should be paid by way of either a check or a demand draft. So it cannot be paid in cash. So if you are offering something to someone, you have to mind it that the thing should not be made cash. Money received on application should be kept in a separate account in a scheduled bank. It can be utilized for adjustment of any allotment money or repayment in case the company has not allotted the securities to him. Okay, so this is a further no further offer pending in the earlier offer. So no fresh offer shall be made unless allotment with respect to the earlier offer is made, or earlier offer has been withdrawn, or earlier offer is abandoned by the company. So you cannot make any further offer if these three conditions are not fulfilled. Okay, further the time limit of the allotment, the company offering the shares securities under this method should allot them within 60 days of receipt of the application money. Okay, so within 60 days you have to allot the shares. If the allotment is not made within 60 days above, the company shall repay the application money within 15 days from the expiry of 60 days. So if the company fails to repay application money within 15 days, it shall be liable to pay interest at the rate of 12% from the expiry of 60 days. Okay, for example, the company has made an allotment on 65th day. Okay, so for 5 days, the company has to pay the interest at the rate of 12% per annum. Further prohibition of the advertisement, the company shall not use any public advertisement, any marketing or distribution channels, or any agents to advertise the placement offers. So as it is a private placement offer, it should not be advertised anywhere. Okay. Further, the return of allotment on allotment of securities, company shall file a return of the allotment within 30 days to the registrar of companies. Now, when the prospectus is not required to be issued, so issue of prospectus by company is not compulsory in the following case. Number one, a private company is not required to issue prospectus because it is having a private, the placement is private one. So it is not at all required to issue the prospectus because it is to be made within the group. So even because prospectus is issued in to whom? To the general public. It is an invitation to general public to subscribe for the shares. So even a public company need not to issue a prospectus if the promoters and directors feel that they can mobilize the resources through the personal relationship and contacts, and therefore the shares or debentures are not offered to the public, and such company is called closely held company. So I told you that public company are of two types. First is your closely held company and second is your widely held company. So closely held company, if the directors or the promoters they have mobilized the funds within from their friends and relatives, then it will be called a closely held company. Or otherwise, if they have to go to public, then it will be called a widely held company because the shares will be held by wide range of people throughout the world or throughout the country or throughout the public. That's why it is called widely held and closely held. Further, hang. Oh, some network issue, I suppose, has happened or what? Am I audible? Hello, guys. Am I audible over
Yes.
Yes,
here?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Some network issue has happened. Anyways. Just a moment. Fine. So we were studying that when the prospectus is not required to be issued. Third is when the shares or the debentures are offered to existing shareholders or the shares or debentures by way of right or without right or of renunciation in favor of the other person. So you have offered the shares and debentures to the existing shareholders. Okay, then also the prospect, because your shareholders are your own shareholders, so there is no need to just issue a prospectus because you are not going to public. Now those shareholders which are already shareholders of your company, you can offer the shares as a right issue to them, and but at the same time you have to tell that you will not renounce the right in favor of someone else, because sometimes right of a person can be given to someone else to take the share. In that case it will be a public issue. So in such a case, when the shares and debentures are to be offered to the existing shareholders only, the right of renunciation of the share should be withdrawn. Okay. Further, fourth point is where the issue related to the shares or debentures which are or to be uniform in all respect with the shares or debentures previously issued. So there is no class of shares you are issuing new and dealt in the stock exchange, because those shares are already dealt in the stock exchange. People know about those shares, so there is no class of shares being issued to anyone. So there is no need to issue a fresh prospectus. But here you have to go for abridged prospectus or something like that. We will study that in further. Okay, so now prospectus under section 270 are of four types: shelf prospectus and red herring prospectus, which are already included in section 270. But there are two more types of prospectus: abridged prospectus and deemed prospectus. So these four types of prospectus actually form the term prospectus as such. So shelf prospectus means a prospectus in respect of which the securities or a class of securities included therein are issued for subscription in one or more issues over a certain period without the issue of a further prospectus. So actually what the shelf prospectus does is that sometimes the money is not needed by the company at once. So the money is required by the company in certain installments. So because the company is progressive, it is growing. Why the company will go for a public issue? Because it needs a huge money for its expansion. But the expansion will not happen in one day or one night. So there will be a phases of expansion, and the expansion is to be done in those phases. So every time the company will be asking money, maybe for after 6 months or 1 year. So if it keep on just issuing the prospectus when no substantial development has been done in the company in the recent past, it will be useless for the company to print the prospectus. In that case, what happens, it will give the shelf prospectus, because for the initial issue which IPO which it has brought, at that time it has issued the prospectus, and then further the follow-on for all the follow-on public offers or FPOs, the company only will file the shelf prospectus, which will tell you what has actually happened between these two terms when the company has lastly issued the shares to the general public. So the concept of the shelf prospectus will save the expenditure and the time of the companies in issuing the new prospectus every time they wish to issue securities to the public within the period of 1 year. So in 1 year, at many times the company can issue the uh, shares to the general public, and that too without issuing the prospectus. They just need to issue the shelf prospectus in that case. So it is a prospectus that describes the set of unissued but registered securities. It is used in situation where the securities are issued in consecutive stages over a period of time because the size of the issue is very large. Okay, so the validity of shelf prospectus that it cannot exceed 1 year from the date of opening of the first offering of the securities under the prospectus. For subsequent offerings, what it has to do, it has to go for an information memorandum, updating the information under the various heads to be filed. An entire set comprising of shelf prospectus and the information of memorandum shall constitute a prospectus. So when a company is issuing prospectus for the first time, it will be called as a shelf prospectus because the intention of the company is to issue further information memorandum afterwards whenever they will be coming up for the issues. Okay, so a shelf prospectus is having a validity of 1 year, and within 1 year you can go for n number of issues with information of memorandum which updates the previous issue and the current issue, what are the changes that the company has had. Next are certain provisions of Section 31. Shelf prospectus may be issued by any class or classes of company as the Security Exchange Board of India may provide by regulation on its behalf. Shelf prospectus shall have a validity period not exceeding 1 year, which shall commence from the date of opening of the first offer of the securities under that prospectus. The validity period not exceeding 1 year should be indicated in the shelf prospectus. In respect of second or subsequent offer of the securities during the validity period, no further prospectus is required. Okay, so these are the provisions of Section 31. Further, a company filing a shelf prospectus shall be required to file an information memorandum with registrar before making any second or subsequent offer to the security. So previous information memorandum has to be filed with the registrar as we filed the prospectus. The IM is to be filed to the registrar. The information memorandum shall contain the material facts, the new changes which has created, the changes in the financial position of the company, and as other such changes which are prescribed by the Act. So when the company or any other person has received application for the allotment of securities along with the advance payment of the subscription before making such change, the company or other person shall intimate the changes to the applicants. So if the applicant express a desire to withdraw their application, then he can withdraw it within 15 days. So a very beautiful system has been created by the new Act, where the information memorandum is filed every time an offer of securities is made. Such memorandum, together with the shelf prospectus, shall be deemed to be a complete prospectus. So shelf prospectus plus information memorandum is equal to complete prospectus. So standalone shelf prospectus or standalone IM will not be deemed to be a prospectus as such. Okay. So these were the provisions of Section 31. Now we are going with the provisions of Section 32. So red herring prospectus means a prospectus which does not include a complete particulars of the quantum or price of the securities included therein. So RHP is actually issued during the book building process. I hope you all know what is book building process. So this process is actually to issue the shares in which the range of the range is given, and in which you have to bid according to the shares you want to apply for. So RHP contains either the floor price of the securities offered or a price band along with the range within which the bids can move. The applicants bid for the shares quoting the price and the quality that they would and the quantity that they would like to purchase on that bid. So red herring prospectus is actually, it doesn't comprise of the exact price of the share. So it comprises of the price range in which the bidding can be accepted from the person who actually wants to purchase the shares. So once the offer of securities is closed, the final prospectus is stating therein the total capital raised, whether by way of debt or a share capital, the closing price of the securities, and other details which are not complete in the red prospectus shall be filed with the SEBI in case of listed company, and in case of any other company to the registrar of companies. But otherwise, registrar of companies, whatever is filed with the SEBI has to be filed with the registrar of companies also. So there are certain provisions related to RHP or the red herring prospectus also. So a company proposing to make an offer of the securities may issue a red-herring prospectus prior to the issue of prospectus. So RHP is something you can, because the band, the price band, the bidding value, and these all things can be, asked to the public even before the offer is made. So you can just issue this before the offer or before the main prospectus is issued. A company proposing to issue RHP shall file it with the registrar at least 3 days prior to opening the subscription list and the offer. So before offering to the public, it can be filed with the ROC 3 days before. RHP shall carry same obligation as are applicable in the prospectus. So it is as good as the prospectus. Any variation between the RHP and the prospectus shall be highlighted as a variation in the prospectus. As such, upon the closing of the offer of securities, prospectus stating that the total capital raised, whether by debt or share capital, closing price of the securities, and all other details which are not included in RHP has to be filed with the registrar and the SEBI. So RHP is filed before the issue is made, and with the price band and with flexibility it provides to the shareholders to apply for the shares, along with the information of the company will be filed in the prospectus. So RHP plus the prospectus actually makes a complete prospectus. So abridged prospectus. So abridged prospectus means a memorandum containing such salient features of a prospectus as may be specified by the security in SEBI by making a regulation in this way. So it is a shorter version of the prospectus that includes all the important or the key elements of a typical prospectus, which is called abridged. Means something which is a bridge. Okay, so abridged prospectus contains information which is very similar to the typical prospectus, but it is in the concise and the compact form. So section 33 states that no form of application can be issued for the purchase of any securities of the company unless it is accompanied by an abridged prospectus. So there are, however, 4 exceptions to this rule, where the offer is made in connection to the bona fide invitation to a person to enter into an underwriting agreement. In that case, you have to file the full prospectus. Where the securities are not offered to the public, then also further where the offer is made only to the existing members of debenture holders, the company with and without right with or without right to renounce, whether the shares or the debentures offered in all respect are uniform with the shares debentures already issued or quoted on the recognized stock exchange. Okay, so these are the exception to it. Further, next is your deemed prospectus. So it is something which is you can say deemed prospectus is a prospectus as such, which is sometimes one more we will go for it, which is called a statement in lieu of prospectus will also come up. So it is prospectus will deemed to have been made by the issuer through its actually offered to the public or the third party or so-called issue house, or you can say actually which is done by the issue house as such. So issuer saves the underwriting expenses in selling the securities with this. So a company, to avoid statutory provisions related to the prospectus by allotting the shares or debentures to the public through the medium of issue houses. So the shares or debentures will be allotted to these issue houses, which will in turn invite the subscription from the public through their own offer documents. Such an offer document is treated as a prospectus issued by the company. Thus, the company could indirectly raise the subscription from the members of the public without issuing an offer document or a prospectus. So actually, deemed prospectus, as the name suggests, is a prospectus or a document which is issued by the issuing house. So actually what the company does is that company actually wants to save itself from the legal formalities and legal implications and complications of issuing prospectus. Okay, so they do not want to come in the picture. So what they do, they just allot their shares to the issue houses, and issue houses on the behalf of the company issues these things to the general public and raises the money for the company and gives the money to the company, and they take the brokerages or underwriting commission for this purpose. So mostly underwriting commission is used for this purpose. So this is, and any document which is issued by these issue houses to the general public will also be deemed to be a prospectus, or which is called deemed prospectus. Further, section 25(2) provides that unless the contrary is proved, an allotment of or an agreement to allot shares or debentures shall be deemed to have been made with a view to shares or debentures being offered for the sale to the public. So if it is shown that the offer of the shares or debentures for sale to the public was made within 6 months after the allotment of the agreement to allot, or that the date when offer was made, the whole consideration to be received by the company in respect of the shares or debenture has not been received. Okay, so it is until and unless it is proved, then it will be treated as if it has been issued. Now this is all about the prospectus, all the four types of prospectus. Now there is one more thing which is called golden rule of legacy, or you can say the golden rule for framing the prospectus. So now the golden rule was pronounced by Justice Kindersley in the New Brunswick and the Canadian Railway Company in 1860. It is also called the golden rule of legacy or golden legacy. Those who issue a prospectus hold out to the public great advantage which will accrue to the persons who will take the shares in the proposed undertaking. Public is invited to take the shares on the faith of the representation contained in the prospectus. So the public is at the mercy of the company promoter. So the 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 money invested by the company is totally dependent on the trust which they are having in the company, because of which they are actually investing in the company. So everything must therefore be stated with the strict and scrupulous accuracy. So there has to be at most high accuracy should be there for, and nothing should be stated as a fact which is not so, and so fact should not be omitted, the existence of which might in any degree affect the nature or the quality of the privileges and advantages which the prospectors hold out as an inducement to take shares. In short, the true nature of the company's venture should be properly disclosed. So what it says is that those people who are issuing the prospectus, they are actually in a fiduciary position, and everyone whosoever is there is applying to the company for the shares, or applying to the company for investing the money for shares or debentures or any security, totally rely upon those facts which they have mentioned in the prospectus. In short, you can say everything must be properly disclosed. Okay, if concealment of any material fact has prevented an adequate appreciation of what was stated, it would amount to a misrepresentation. Thus, even if every specific statement is literally true, the prospectus may be false by the reason of suppression of any material facts. It conveys a false impression. So even if you have disclosed everything, but there are certain things which which on which you are silent, which otherwise should be properly conveyed. So all those things must be properly conveyed, or if it is so, then it will be treated as a false impression, or it will give a false impression, and the things will be, you know, will be taken in the sense that as if a misstatement in prospectus has been done. So in one more case, which is Rex versus Kelsand, all the statements in the prospectus were literally true, but it failed to disclose that the dividend stated in it as paid were not paid out of the trading profits, but were realized out of the capital profit, that is the secret reserves. So whatever dividends has been paid were out of the pockets of the promoters only. Okay, that is to the secret reserves. So dividend was paid, though it was, but they concealed the fact that what was the source of paying the dividend. Okay, so when you say the dividend is paid, the other people will think, oh wow, well, it is a very good company. It pays dividends on such a very high rate, but it was not out of the profits of the company. It was just in order to induce others to just think that the company is good enough to pay the dividend. That's why it is so. So it is as it was out of secret profits. The statement of the company had paid the dividends for a number of years was true, but the company has incurred losses for all those years. And no disclosure was made of the fact that the losses were there. Okay. So the prospectus was held to be false in material particulars, and managing director and the chairman who knew this fact was was held guilty of the fraud. Okay, so misstatement or true statement, untrue statement in the prospectus. So according to section 34(1) of the Act, a statement included in the prospectus shall be deemed to be untrue when. So following are the circumstances under section 34, which actually under which the statement will be deemed to be untrue. A, if the statement is misleading in the form or context in which it is included. Second, where any inclusion or omission from the prospectus of a matter is likely to mislead. Okay, so these two things must be there. So a statement included in prospectus shall be deemed to be untrue if it is misleading in any form, in any context. Okay, and further where there is a intentional suppression of material facts which may be rendered as fraudulent, as we have just now told. So sometimes half a truth is no better than a downright falsehood. Okay, so half a truth sometimes is not good. So there are certain examples of misstatement in the prospectus. For example, a statement that proceeds of the issue of the debentures were to be utilized for improving the development of the business, whereas the real object was to pass off the, you have to pay off the previous liability. But you have given the statement in the prospectus that the proceeds of the debentures will be utilized for the developmental purpose. So this is a misstatement. So prospectus represent that the shares will be issued on the behalf of their nominal value. Okay, so this is something. So there is another case law of this Peak versus Gurney. So you can go through these case laws and you can understand what is the statement, or you can say misstatement in the prospectus as such. Further, there is a proof of misstatement. It has to be, the burden of proof actually lies on the LOT, that there was a there is a no misleading statement. So the person to whom the shares is issued, if the onus of proof is over there. If they find that the statement is untrue, it is their duty to just prove it, that there is a misrepresentation of, and what they have to prove, they have to prove that there was a misrepresentation, and in respect of the, and that misrepresentation is in respect of the material fact because of which he has actually invested the money, and he has acted on the misrepresentation, and he has suffered the damages out of the consequences. Then only it will be treated as a misrepresentation. So there are certain remedies also given for the misrepresentation. Civil and criminal remedies are there for it. Okay, so we will continue with these remedies. Maybe I think tomorrow we have a class. So these are certain things which we have to follow. Some regulations of SEBI is also there. So SEBI regulations you must skip. I will just, and the process of issue of prospectus is also given over here, which is again an important part, that how we have to go with it. Okay, and when the registrar will refuse. So there are certain important points which may have to do tomorrow. So tomorrow's class will be the second class on the prospectus, and we will finish off the prospectus until now up to 15-16 classes whatsoever. Okay guys, so I hope you have understood this in a better way. So time is also up, so just let me take the attendance, and we'll set you free for the rest of the day. You can enjoy, you can study, you can play, whatever. Okay, so let me take the final attendance of the class. Fine. So Asta Khandelwal, Abhigyan Gupta, Aditya, Ankit, Arpan Mishra, Ashutosh Maharshi, Ayush Bothra, Ritik Bharadwaj, Ishpreet Singh, Janvi, Jamima, Karan Agarwal, Kaushal Agarwal, Meghna Duria, Naman Jalan, Naveen Chandlani, Navya Singh, Priyanshi Sharma, Raghav Dubey, Sambhav Garg, Samriddhi Tripathi, Sanya Kamar, Sarvansh Sinha, Saurabh Yadav, Shara Khan, Shreya Dharan, Vanshika, and Yashvardhan Tiwari. Fine. Thank you guys and have a nice day.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
sir.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye.
nice day, sir.
Yeah.
Bye, sir.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye. See you.
Bye, sir.
Bye bye.